Welcome to our next Wandering Walks of Wonder tour. This time we're headed to the National Route 66 Museum in Elk City, Oklahoma. This museum is on the Mother Road itself. It's dedicated to preserving and celebrating the history of Route 66, and it features a variety of exhibits on the road's history, culture, and architecture. The museum's collection includes a number of vintage cars, trucks, and motorcycles that were once used on Route 66. There's also a bunch of memorabilia, signs, maps, and photographs that we'll see along the way. It's a great place to learn about the history and culture of Route 66 and a must-see for anyone interested in this iconic American road. As we go through the museum, we'll basically take the route from Illinois to California and see what some of the stops and cars and artifacts and memorabilia look like along the way. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this tour of the National Route 66 Museum.
For 2,500 miles, Route 66 was the main street of America. It started at Grant Park in Chicago and ended on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles, a few steps away from the Pacific Ocean. It was the most famous highway in America, perhaps in the entire world. It went through 8 states and 3 time zones, through Springfield, St. Louis, Tulsa, Amarillo, Albuquerque, Flagstaff, and San Bernardino as travelers went looking for the promised land.
I drove from St. Louis to California 2 years ago. Big interstates, 500 miles a day. McDonald's and Burger Kings everywhere. But the first time I came here was in 1949. Had a
Oil was to play an important part in Route 66 during its journey through Oklahoma. And one of Route 66's most famous stories happened between Tulsa and Oklahoma City in 1927 when the road was new. The Phillips 66 Oil Company is based in Bartlesville, a few miles north of Tulsa. The company had developed a powerful new gasoline and was looking for a catchy name. A Phillips executive named John Kane had been trying to think of one. He and his driver, one Salty Sawtell, were driving up Route 66 just before the turnoff to Bartlesville when Kane noticed that Sawtell was driving faster than usual. He asked Salty how fast they were going. 66, Sawtell told him. Just then, a Route 66 sign flashed by. 66 on 66, Kane said with a flash of inspiration. It's going to be Phillips 66. And it was. The Phillips 66 signs are still out on Old Route 66 and a lot of other places too. By the time Route 66 had been built, Oklahoma City was the largest town between St. Louis and Los Angeles and was oil rich. It was the capital of the state, and 66 went by the Capitol grounds where an oil well pumped away on the manicured lawn. Today, the well is still there.
I've been working in oil fields around Tulsa and Oklahoma City when we heard about this gusher over in Elk City. This was 1947. I was 32 years old. We got our rig loaded up the next day and took off down Route 66. Now, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cowboy, but I'd never gotten farther than El Reno, so, hey, this was new country to me. They told me where the Chisholm Trail crossed Route 66 in Yukon, and there's this big watering hole for cattle on the Canadian River there. Well, it's a city park now with a sign to tell you all about it. We stopped at Weatherford and got a hamburger about noon, and the cafe was crowded with oil-filled roughnecks all headed for Elk City. When I got there, they were setting up drilling rigs everywhere, even in people's yards. There's oil and mud everywhere. There wasn't any 8-hour days at Elk City. I'd work as long as I could and sleep on the ground, then I'd get up and do it all over again. There's somebody there who put up this big tent and opened up a restaurant, and a lot of us eat there. We'd always be oily and dirty, but a little more oil and potatoes didn't make much difference, I guess. A couple of months before things got back to normal, I worked out there for about a year. I never did get to be a cowboy. John Thacker, oil field roughneck.
Here it is, the Jackrabbit Trading Post. If you haven't stopped here yet, you haven't been in the Southwest. See the Indian Village, jewelry, rugs, Kachina dolls, sale, 50% off.
Stop! Reptiles, live rattlesnakes. See the fearsome Gila monster. Don't miss it. 1 mile.
Club Cafe, biscuits and gravy, cinnamon apple pie, Santa Rosa.
Tucumcari and Santa Rosa, 60 miles apart, were both popular stopping points between Amarillo and Albuquerque, and they had more than their share of tourist courts and restaurants. It was here that the first adobe buildings could be seen. The cafes and gift shops were full of Indian jewelry, rugs, and Kachina dolls. For many of the Eastern kids, it was often hard to spot a real Indian, until the Indians realized that jewelry and rug sales would soar dramatically if they would just wear an Indian costume. And it would work even better if they had a feather headdress to go with it.
When Mike retired from General Motors, we sold our house in Farmington Hills and bought a motorhome. We went everywhere. We got maple syrup in Maine and oranges in California, but nothing was quite like Route 66. Our first trip was down that road. We started in Chicago and we went all the way to Santa Monica. We liked museums and we saw them all. But it was the museums in the little towns that I liked the best of all. They weren't as big as the Smithsonian in Washington, but every relic, every exhibit, well, they meant something special to the people there. We saw all the sights. We saw the petrified forest and the painted desert. We went down Palomino Canyon and we saw the outdoor drama, Texas. We'd seen the billboards all up and down the highway for the big Texan restaurant in Amarillo. couldn't. At the Grand Canyon, we stood at the rim and marveled at the awesome grandeur of nature. I got that from a travel brochure. But it's true. We took time to see the people and the towns. That big windshield was like a window to the world, and it was all there on Route 66.
Early Monday morning, I woke up when the wind started blowing. By daylight, there was a terrible black cloud along the fence line, and the wind kept howling and howling. At noon, when the men came in from the fields, they were choking, covered with dust. That afternoon, the mules wouldn't leave the barn and couldn't go to the field. By nightfall, dust had sifted all through the house. All Thursday night and all day Friday, the wind never stopped. When we woke up Saturday, the crops were gone. Fields had blown away. We put everything we could on the truck and went to California. Elizabeth Porter, Oklahoma Farm Life.
In 1936, the bank took our farm. Now, we didn't have enough money to get to California, but we got as far as New Mexico. I found a little cafe there and got the owner to go shares with me. It was some of the hardest work I'd ever done, but we stuck it out, and in 1943 I owned it outright. In 1948 or 49, after the war, people started coming down the road. We were busy from 5:30 in the morning until 10 every night. Ex-soldiers with their wives, most often the kids, going to California or maybe going back the other way to see the old folks back in Missouri, Chicago, or Ohio. We bought a flashing red and green neon sign, and our parking lot was full. Well, we had 3 cooks and 7 waitresses, and we served plate lunches for $1.35. We had a soda fountain, and we made milkshakes in big aluminum cans. A hamburger was 25 cents. We raised our family there and sent 2 kids to college with that old road. Augustus Schultz, cafe owner.